So when I woke up in the morning, I was more dehydrated than anything. Had some, drank a bunch of water, had some electrolytes, and then hit the trail without eating breakfast. So at this point, for about a 24-hour period, I'd had 2 beef sticks, handful of sunflower seeds, and an apple.
Music Bay. Music Music Bay.
Hey guys, so I just was having a quick thought here this evening. As you might know, I posted on my Instagram page. I just came back from Nevada, Arizona area. Had a good time down there. Just checked something off my bucket list. I wanted to do a rim to rim Grand Canyon hike. So I wasn't too concerned about being able to do the hike. It's about 25-mile hike. You got a lot of elevation gain and decline as you're going up and down the canyon. But I had a lot of experience spending a lot of time walking on at various different manual labor jobs, so I kind of knew what I was getting myself into. As a little bit of a background, in the past I had a job where I would walk. So I tracked it one time with a pedometer, and I would walk 13 miles every day. I was lifting moderately heavy things at every 5-minute intervals for the entire time, and so the job itself was a workout in and of itself, almost kind of a conditioning sort of workout. Time, I was also struggling with some digestive issues, and so eating a standard or a typical athlete's diet or a bodybuilder type diet with the balanced macros and stuff like that didn't really work out too well for me, given the fact that carbohydrates, especially starches, would give me a lot of brain fog. So I instead adopted a sort of low carb paleo, more or less high in fat, at some points being 70+% of my calories coming from fat, and that helped my mental acuity. Even though the circumstances were not ideal, I still had some bodybuilding or muscle building goals. So, due to my digestive issues, I had lost about 30 pounds of muscle mass that I gained through powerlifting in high school. Through eating a standard bodybuilding diet, I had gained back, got myself up to about 185 pounds from 145. However, even though I looked good on the outside, I still had trouble sleeping, and I had trouble with brain fog eating this way. And so that's why I adopted this other kind of diet. And also, because of on the job that I was at, I had very infrequent break periods. So I could not eat, every 3 hours as is typically advised when you're doing bodybuilding. And instead, it would sometimes be 6, 7, 8, or more hours before I could actually have a time to sit down and eat something. And so I found that this high fat intake and becoming more fat adapted, and even doing OMAD on many days, helped me to function at a high level, even though I was not getting very many calories. So fast forward to this Grand Canyon hiking trip, right? When I was gonna go do the hiking trip, I knew the first day I was gonna be doing about 14 miles of hiking, and I figured I'd kind of do that fairly easily. Even though I have not been in that previous work environment for some time, I still run a couple times a week and lift weights almost every day. So going into the hike, the first day, because flying out to Arizona is 3+ hours on an airplane, and then, or actually to Vegas, and then driving from Vegas to Grand Canyon Park was about a 4-hour drive. I decided to shoot down to Sedona, see that while I was at it. So it was about a total of 6 hours on the road on the second day after the airplane flight. So when I got up in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, I caught a shuttle ride. It was 5 hours to get from the South Rim to the North Rim, because I was going to hike North Rim back to where my cabin was on the South Rim. And so, given all this sitting and everything, so I typically can't stand sitting for more than 3 hours at a time, right? And my hip flexors go nuts and everything. And one thing that I found has been able to allow me to sit for longer periods of time is to fast and eat low carbs, snacking on nuts, things like beef sticks sometimes, keeping even the protein relatively low so as to keep my glycogen stores a little bit lower, keep my insulin lower, and help me to stay focused. So while this was good for me when I was doing to help me be able to sit for long periods of time, it wasn't the greatest way to start a long distance hike. So when I started the hike at 12:30 in the afternoon, for the entire day I'd had one beef stick and a handful of sunflower seeds and water, right? And so I was doing okay. About 7 miles into the first day of the hike, and I had about a 35, 40-pound pack on, I stopped, had an apple, and another beef stick. So I finished the hike, made it to the camping site as the sun was going down, set up in the dark, and then didn't eat for the rest of the night. So after all the sitting that I had done for the past couple days, the course of that first 14 miles of hiking in that first day, I actually wasn't doing too bad, right? I started getting a little bit tired towards the end, and it was pretty hot down there at the bottom of the canyon, so my appetite was pretty suppressed. Just went straight to bed without eating, and then got up the next morning. Was still feeling pretty hot. So when I woke up in the morning, I was more dehydrated than anything. Drank a bunch of water, had some electrolytes, and then hit the trail without eating breakfast. So at this point, for about a 24-hour period, I'd had 2 beef sticks, handful of sunflower seeds, and an apple, and had hiked 14 miles. So still not a crazy feat or anything like that, especially given how much sitting I'd been doing the day before. But definitely not optimal way to start a hike. So about an hour into the second day of hiking, I just crossed the Colorado River on the Silver Bridge. It was pretty hot down there because all there was is basically just rocks, down by the river, and a lot of loose sand to walk through. About an hour into the hike, I just felt the gas tank just sputter. I didn't feel weak at the legs or any low blood sugar or anything like that. Just kind of like, boom, ran out of gas. So I knew from experience at that point that I could probably go about another hour before I'd start really, compromising my digestion and my ability to actually assimilate food to be able to finish the hike. So I knew I had to stop right then and there, have something to eat before I completely ran out of gas, so that it would be digested before I ran out of gas. Be that as it may, I also didn't want to heavily weigh down my digestive system. I had a whole wheat tortilla along with a little bit of peanut butter and half a can of tuna, and then some raisins and some more water and electrolytes. This carried me through until so the second day of hiking was about 9-10 miles. And so this took me to about 3 miles from the top of the canyon, and at which point I stopped, had another handful of sunflower seeds, and my last apple. So the little bit of carbohydrates that I had that day allowed me to get to the top, and I was doing okay, except for my feet really hurt just because I had kind of depleted all the glycogen in my calves from all the stepping up, stepping down, and combined with the low carbohydrates. When I got back to the cabin, I had 2 liters of orange juice sitting in the refrigerator. I figured it'd be a natural way to quickly replenish glycogen stores if I was really depleted. Problem was, the housekeeping had turned up the freezer to maximum, or the refrigerator up to max cold, and so it was frozen like a brick. Luckily, I had a bottle of Gatorade, so I grabbed this bottle of Gatorade off the nightstand, took a handful of raisins, and tossed that in my mouth, drank half the bottle of Gatorade, and started feeling a lot better after that. However, over the course of the next couple days, ended up eating a lot more carbohydrates than I'm used to, and even a week later, it's still affecting me today. So the reason I say all this is because a lot of times people think they have to do massive amounts of cardio to lose body fat. Actually, in my experience, and I have a lot of experience with this, I was a cross-country runner in high school, played a lot of soccer, as well as a lot of basketball. Later on, as I talked about at that job, I would do 13 miles every day, and then go and do bodybuilding training 4 hours per week, either before or after I was on the job. And I was doing this typically in a very low carb state while I was doing it. Now, when I transitioned out of that job, I actually found that I was actually able to stay quite lean, doing far less cardiovascular exercise, even doing less weightlifting exercise, and kind of doing a combination of powerlifting, a little bit of bodybuilding, and then Olympic lifting, with about 2 hours total of actual like running per week, right? And it was actually running and walking. With that being said, I also will walk every day, and that actually helps a lot. So the take home here is that you don't need to do massive amounts of cardio to lose body fat. It can help you lose body fat, but it can compromise your strength progress in the gym. Excessive amounts of cardio can also throw off your hormonal profile and make it so you don't have enough glycogen and ATP to put into your strength training workouts. If you do want to be a hybrid athlete and combine both cardio and strength training together, then you should do it not for the fat loss benefits of it, but more as a sport, right? And if you're going to do that, you need to make sure that you are fueling appropriately, getting adequate carbohydrates before and after all of your workouts to make sure that you are recovered enough so that you're not compromising your strength or your running. All right, guys, hopefully you found the video useful here. I didn't go into a lot in depth on the actual strategy of exactly how much carbohydrates to have, but in general, at least a 1-to-1 ratio, even a little bit higher if you're doing a lot of aerobic work. If you're going to be doing more than 60 to 90 minutes of continuous cardiovascular exercise, I recommend consuming a electrolyte drink comprised of about 6 to 7% of solution of carbohydrates combined with that. It's going to help you replenish your glycogen stores so that you will recover faster from your workout and also help you stay more hydrated. If you liked the video, hit that like button. If you'd like to see more content related to workout design, fueling for both performance as well as fat loss, muscle building, as well as how to prevent injuries from occurring, and if you do get them, how to work around them, consider subscribing to the channel by hitting the button in the lower right-hand corner of the screen. We'll see you all next time for more health and fitness information.